What is going on, everyone? My name is Thomas Miner. I'm an agent with Remax Precision. Look at the cool hoodie that they gave me for joining. This is Thomas Talks on Thursday. It's a live show that I'm starting. I am streaming completely live. The cool part about that is if you guys have any questions about the real estate market, Des Moines news, want to hear my opinions on basically anything and everything, I am doing this show to talk about things that you guys find interesting. I am tired of these ultra edited, fancy real estate clips coming out from other agents that really don't do much to inform and entertain people that are looking at the real estate market. So that's what I'm trying to solve. So, how I start off the show is talking about a few things that I find interesting, that I think you guys might find interesting. And then I answer questions that I've gotten in my comment section before Thursday morning. I always post a post looking for comments or questions, and I answer those questions on the show live every Thursday, with the exceptions of holidays. The last 2 weeks have been New Year's and Christmas. So, I've been taking a break, but it is 2026 and I'm really excited to get back into it. Speaking of really excited to get back into it, I am once again doing my every 20 plan. This is going to be the fourth year that I've done this. Basically, the way that it works is every closing I have, my client nominates a charity. Once I get to the 20th closing of the year, I put a big poll out that has all these charities on it, and you guys vote on your favorite charity, and that charity will receive the donation of my 20th commission check. I ended up hitting this goal in 2023, and it ended up being $8,000 to Meals from the Heartland. And I threw a really cool party to celebrate it. So I really want to hit this again. The party was amazing. Giving back to the community that has supported me was amazing. Getting all my friends, family, and clients together in one room was amazing. It was like basically a first wedding for me. And my wedding last year was awesome, but I think it sidetracked me a little bit from hitting this goal. So I am really trying to hit 20 transactions this year. So if you or anyone you know is looking to buy or sell a home, reach out to me and let's get back to the community while we're doing it. And very key semantics in that phrase. It is every 20. So in the hypothetical world that I hit 40 sales in a year, I will be doing 2 donations. So let's get into some news. Let's talk about some stuff. Our favorite Donald Trump, I hope you guys can read this. He put out a post basically talking about the affordability issue that we have in the United States for real estate right now. It is pretty hard for a first-time home buyer to jump into this market. People that have jumped in as early as they possibly could have some advantages because they have all that equity that they've built up the last few years. But with interest rates and prices of homes, uh, the cost to build right now is just pretty tough. So his proposal that he's throwing out there, this is nowhere close to actually happening, but his proposal that he is throwing out there is he wants to prevent large investors from investing in single family homes anymore. So they'd be able to invest in big multiplexes, but no more single family residencies. I think this is going to be hard for this to actually happen. So I think it's kind of a cool idea on paper. I also wonder how much of a shift we would actually see in the market if this is happening. He is not talking about forcing these investors to sell their investment homes. He's just saying he's going to cut them off from buying any new ones. And if you look at the statistics, yes, about 20% of single family homes in the United States right now are owned by investors. And in 2025, investors bought roughly a third of our single family inventory. But he is not talking about real estate investors in general. He is talking about large scale real estate investors like our BlackRocks of the world and everything like that, right? They only make up 2% of the market. So, and I can tell you from personal experience, they aren't in Des Moines, Iowa a ton. So we take away 2% of buyers. Will it help affordability a little bit? We might see a little bit of shift year after year. Will appreciation slow down a little bit and make things more affordable? No, but this isn't all of a sudden going to cause a crash. This isn't all of a sudden going to be able to make homes way more affordable than they were a little bit. I think this is an interesting option. I think it's going to be really hard for it to get passed. I think this and other things like whatever we can do to encourage people that own single family homes that don't necessarily need them anymore to sell, I think help a lot. If you take a few buyers out of the market that don't necessarily need it and you add a little bit more inventory, then we will see a shift in pricing. But I'm throwing this out there because I want to get other people's opinions. I want to have a discussion about this because I do think it's really, really interesting. I think this is one of the things that the media brings up a lot that isn't necessarily as big of an issue as it is, but it definitely is a factor in the market, and it definitely is a factor in the large scale United States as a whole market. We do have these big investors coming in and buying houses. I will also say some of those investors are, for people that do own homes, some of those investors are helping us hold our value. So that is something to think about as well too. As someone that owns a home, do we really want to see this big shift and have our homes all of a sudden become less valuable? That is another thing to think about. Another thing I wanted to talk about in 2026, there's a change in the Des Moines area, Iowa as a whole. Sellers disclosures, homeowners are now required to disclose whether they know if any of their water lines are lead water lines because there are potential health and safety issues with having lead water lines. Because if you have lead water lines and your water is acidic for any reason, that will lead there to be more lead in your water, and lead in high doses is very, very unsafe for people. Ever since I've been in the real estate market, and ever since 1978, we haven't used lead paint for basically the same exact reason. Lead hasn't been used as a supply line since 1988, I believe. Um, but this basically is showing where the lead water line possibly is and what is the homeowner's responsibility. So it is a potential safety issue. If you know for sure you have lead lines, you have to disclose it. They do not need to be repaired or replaced until quite a ways down the line. I think we're looking at 12 years. And the state of Iowa as a whole is currently looking into federal funding that they can acquire to help people replace these lines. If you are looking for more information on how to identify if you do have it, West Des Moines has a great article talking about how to identify it. If you do have it, it is most likely at wherever your water meter is, and then you're just basically looking at it and seeing if you can define it. They also have a survey where you can send in a picture of it so they can verify your identification as well. More than likely, you're guaranteed if you have a house that was built after 1990 that you probably don't have it. You probably either have copper, or if you have an even newer home, you have PEX. Those would be the two most popular options for your water lines. But it's definitely something to start to think about, especially if you are thinking about selling your home this year, because you're going to have to disclose whether you know if you have it or not. It is exactly like lead-based paint. If you have a house built after 1978, you need to disclose if you have any knowledge of lead-based paint in your home as well. I will say too, as far as me representing a buyer, this would not necessarily be a deal breaker for me. It is just one more thing for the buyer to know about health and safety wise, making sure you get your water tested, making sure it's safe. And it is something to keep in mind that, yes, they're saying that they're going to acquire federal funding to help people replace these in 10 years or so, but it might not be for the whole amount. And you might end up still having to pay a little bit out of pocket to get these water lines replaced. And getting these water lines replaced, if it's that service line that's going through the front yard, will mean that your yard is going to get torn up. So it is just one more thing to think about. It is a lot like the lead-based paint thing. It's a lot about like getting your home tested for radon. Just one more thing to think about, and if you want more information, I have found in the last week or so some really great articles talking about identifying it and talking about potential health and safety issues if you want to read about that from someone smarter than me. So let's get into follower questions. And to anyone that is watching, please leave a comment if you have any questions. And there also is a link in the comments if you want to get really, really wild and call in and we can just have a discussion about real estate, or we can have a discussion about Des Moines, anything you want to talk about that I would be willing to have on my business page. Let's not get too inappropriate here. So let's go next. My father, thank you, Dad, for always chipping in and always being a big supporter of my page. Put in a question in here that's kind of an interesting question because there is some situations where I feel like people would want something like this. He said, "Is it possible to put my property on a list to see if there might be any interested buyers without actually listing the property first? And how might this work?" So what he is talking about is the potential of having what's called like a pocket listing. A pocket listing is you sign a full-blown listing agreement and you hire a listing agent, but you're also telling that listing agent, I don't want this home advertised publicly yet. I don't want this on the multiple listing service. Now, why would someone want to do that? Someone would want to do that for multiple reasons. I think someone would want to do that if they're wanting to test the market a little bit, just kind of see if the price they're thinking for their home is kind of crazy. Private sales can also be very, very convenient timeline wise, because if you find someone that is willing to buy your home privately, they're probably in love with your home and they're probably willing to work and close exactly when you want to and line up you finding your next place. And you don't have to go through the unfortunate side effect of listing your home for sale, scheduling a massive amount of showings, having a lot of people in and out of your house, holding open houses. So, how would a pocket listing work? A pocket listing, the listing agent takes it on. They don't advertise it online at all. They just advertise it to people they know. And me being at Remax Precision, I am blessed with a brokerage that has private forms of communication where I can send out messages to all the agents in my office, and say, hey, I've got XYZ. It has this, this, and this as a really big bonus to it. And the seller is thinking about selling it, but before we list it, we want to see if we could just sell it privately. And our brokerage has over 400 agents in it. It's one of the biggest brokerages in central Iowa. If there's a buyer out there, there's a good chance Remax Precision has a buyer for one of your properties. So it is a very convenient way to sell it. And it could be an option for someone, especially if someone has a really, really unique property. It is an option someone can definitely explore. The caveat that I would throw out there is if you're listing on the multiple listing services, not only are you reaching out to all the Remax agents, I do a lot of that anyways when a home is listed on the multiple listing service, you're reaching out to every single agent in the area. DMAR, the Des Moines Area Association of Realtors, has over 2,500 agents in it. If you list your home on the multiple listing service, if they're a good agent, they automatically have a search and they get notified the day that thing is listed, and they are immediately notified about that home being listed. And you're throwing that house out there to all the buyers at once. Multiple listing service also feeds into all of your popular websites, your homes.com, to your realtor.com, to your Zillows, all of those all at once. And if you hire a great real estate agent, they're going to be using social media. They're going to be using their sphere of influence. They're going to be using other real estate agents at their brokerage. They're going to be doing open houses. They're going to be taking great photos that are going to represent it online very, very well. And that home is going to get advertised to a ton of people. And when you get it to more people, you're more likely to get a good price for the home. But that isn't realistic for some people. And if you have a very, very unique home and you just miss the mark right when you list it, you could be getting a lot of days on market and that home kind of starts to get a little bit of an aura around it. And that might not be exactly what you want as well, too. So there's multiple different ways to skin a cat. I think that's not a very nice thing to say. I would never skin a cat, but That's the way the saying goes. So there's multiple ways to list your home. There's multiple ways to get your home sold. And a pocket listing or a private sale is definitely one a real estate agent can still help you out with and is definitely a viable option if you are interested in it. We got my good friend Johnny Cheek commented on Instagram saying, Thomas, I would love to hear your opinion on what month of the year is best for buying a home. Wondering when there is the most listings and the best pricing. So I did a really good video about this a while back, and a smarter agent would have went back and found exactly those stats. But I'll give you the overview, and then if anyone is really, really interested, I'll just send the video that I did talking about it in more detail later. Thing number one is the best time to buy a home is the best time that works for you personally. So if you have a lease that's expiring, timing up your new purchase with the end of the lease can definitely make a lot of sense cash wise and just convenience wise. And then there's lots of other things that come into factor. Some people have seasonal jobs where it is just so much more convenient for them to move a certain season. That is definitely something to think about. Some people have kids, and it's just so much more convenient to move not during the school year. Because if you move the school year and you're moving school districts, they might have to immediately change school districts, or you're going to the old school district, but you live in the other one. So you have to figure out a way to get them to school. So sometimes it's just more convenient to list and move in the summer, which brings me into one of the questions that Johnny asked here is when is there the most listings? There is the most listings in the summer. If I remember correctly off the top of my head, the inventory normally peaks right around end of July, beginning of August is when you're going to be able to look at the most houses. That's when new construction is pretty close to its peak typically, and that's when resale homes are typically pretty close to its peak. So if you're just looking to look when there's the most inventory, that is a great time. Now, the best pricing, this is kind of hard to judge because if you really, really wanted to do a deep dive study on it, you would have to find some sort of way to get an idea of what your estimated value would be and where it sold compared to its estimated value. But that would take someone a lot of time. It would also take someone that has the absolute authority on what the value of that house would be. But if you're just looking at buying it compared to the list price, so compared to what the seller was asking, the stats typically say you're getting the best deal this month. So call me if you want to get the best deal. January, February, you are typically looking at getting the best deal. And why is that? It is because a lot of the things I was talking about last month, listings start to really slow down end of November into December. So if you're looking in January, February, you're either looking at a home that was just listed, or you're looking at a home that has been sitting since October, November, and they are really, really looking for an offer, and you would be in a really, really good negotiation spot there. So long and short of it, if you're looking for quote unquote the best deal, you'd be looking in January, February. If you want to look when there's the most inventory, I would start looking like June, July, August would be really, really high inventory months, and that would be a great time to look. So, hey guys, that's it. That's all I have for questions. I want to thank everyone so much, everyone that's popped in and watched. And I haven't really made a post talking about this, but I want to thank everyone that either referred me out or used me in 2025. 2025 was a great year. As far as sales go, I was really, really happy. And I mean, I got married. So it's going to be a year I'm going to remember for the rest of my life. I want to thank everyone that supports me once again. And I want to thank everyone for watching. I hope you guys have a great weekend. I am doing this every Thursday. So if you have any real estate questions, comment with a question. I will answer them on the show every Thursday. If you want to get really, really crazy, you can call in and we can have a discussion about real estate, the Des Moines area, anything you really, really want to talk about. Have a great day, guys. Thank you.